Hi there, welcome again to Spotty's Body Gut, and that's hello from me and hello from
me,
Sue, and it's Sue's birthday today. I thought we might start off with doing a before and after at the beginning of this one. Well, a before at the beginning and an after at the end. These are just 5 knives that I bought from Tregarson Antique Centre, and 10 pence a time, and I'll just go through them. First off, this one, which is it's a really nice posh fish knife, but no one uses them, although they make great huge butter knives. This one's interesting because it's got a sterling silver collar on it, which is probably worth 20 or 30 pence scrap. I don't know what silver is now, about £16 an ounce, and yeah, you can see that sterling, and that probably means Mark Sterling is often means they're American. And then I've got this one, which is a fab little knife, but it was probably huge by comparison. It's actually been worn down. Then I've got 2 steel knives here, and these were typical dining room knives that when I was a kid perhaps you'd see everywhere, except they're made of steel and they are incredibly sharp. And I know a lot of people who like to use these for their kitchen knives because they're so sharp. When I was young, you used to be careful about really hurting yourself with a dining knife. And this one, last one here, is a butter knife. Of course, it looks like the fish knife, but it isn't. It's a butter knife. And this one, absolutely classic. Where the Ivorine, because these were plastic, they made them really a great mock ivory called Ivorine. Where this has come away from, they glued them with something like tar. And I'm going to try and do if you heat up the blade of the knife, then it softens the tar and you can actually reposition them back again. I bet that little collar's silver as well. So anyway, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it in there, and we've got some previous, just like Blue Peter, we've got some previously boiled water, and we're going to do that, and then you've just got to leave it and see if the heat will get up to the to the spike that goes into the collar. Now, obviously, the fish knife doesn't really need doing. It's funny how they're the same pattern because they're different, different handles. But when it comes down to these sort of things, then if you get a piece of wet and dry sandpaper and really have a go, you'll be amazed. Even on a real rusty hulk like this.
I'm amazed.
You'd be amazed. Are you amazed?
Yeah.
You'd be amazed how well they come up. And this is, I'll show you later when we've finished anyway. And I tell you already, that is a bit frightening. So anyway, we're going to do those 2. And we're going to do this one, which I just simply love. That looks like it's got a name on as well. This is greasy, this one. And as I say, when we come to the end of the video, I'll show you what they're like when they're done up. And let's see what this one's going on. Oh, this one's going to take a little bit more work, Sue, I think. But the name's coming. And, okay, so, like I say, I'll show you those at the end of the video to see how they've come up. Let's hope they come up well. And I've never tried doing the trick with heating the knives up, although I've heard about it for ages and ages. Oh, well, anyway, I'm going to stop here and get on with our usual bits. So see you in a moment. Oh, well, we're back from the washing up, and we'll show you the results of those knives at the end. But right now, I'm going to get into a couple of bits of glass that I've picked up. The first one here is a bit of what they call, this is fused glass, but I love it with the little pink hearts on and the rest of that. And it actually is signed. I don't know if you can quite catch that, or maybe you're going to catch it afterwards. It looks like something like a Drinian or something like that. I haven't tried looking it up, but I don't know who. But it was £1 in one of the charity shops in Brecon. What can you say? A signed piece of pressed glass. It's crazy. Isn't that beautiful, Sue? Anyway, and now I'm going to get on to this, which is actually even more beautiful. If we live in the world of competition, this is just fabulous. This is an iridescent vase, and this is also signed. This cost me £4.50, and I might have bought this in Abergavenny charity shops. I can't look at that. It looks lovely, doesn't it? Has that same sort of flashiness that you get on butterfly wings and things like that. And this actually is signed. It says, I remember trying too hard to get it, but it says Ochra 1987. And these were off my radar. Ochra is a Scottish firm, and they're still working today. And this cost me £4 or £4.50, and I hate to go on about values generally, but this is actually worth about £60 to £70. It's just silly. Anyway, let's move on from that, and let's get into. I can never resist picking up royal commemoratives or Pope mugs, because I just like to ask people if they want a second cup of tea, whether or not they're the Queen or the Pope, really. But I think I've got about 3 Pope mugs. I've got loads and loads of Andy and Fergie ones now. Anyway, ta-da, he's gone. Another one died today or yesterday, I think, a Benedict, I think, and I lose track of them. And next thing I'm going to bring up is Staffordshire, Victorian Staffordshire jug, and this I bought in a cat shop round the back of Brecon Market, and it was £3. But the funny thing is, I didn't go to Brecon for 3 weeks. I left this in the shop and immediately regretted it when I got home. And I went back about 3 weeks later, didn't find it, and I suddenly realised that it was under a shelf that I'd seen it. And lo and behold, there it was. What I really love about it is the silver lustre on it. Everything on this mug is hand painted. I love these little squiggles, almost like sort of tendrils off of climbing plants. And the other unusual thing, because this jug's about 1830, the other unusual thing about it is the fact that it's yellow. Yellow glazes were always a problem. They were a problem for the Chinese when they started, and of course they started posh China a long time before us, but they didn't start pottery before us. But the actual manufacture of porcelain, yellow glazes were always a problem. I think the Derby factory was the first one in the UK to perfect a yellow glaze. But this is just a good old common or garden proletariat jug. But I absolutely love that. And he's a little bit scuffed and worn out in places, but so what? He's virtually a 200-year-old jug, and I love him to bits, and I don't think he's going to move off my shelf. Now, the next thing we got here is, Sue's been doing a bit of research on this. It's got something on here. It's got a patent number or a registered design number on there. And obviously it's a rolling pin. Now, you get ceramic rolling pins. You get them from Nut Brown, were a British company that made loads of kitchen gadgets. And also Cornishware, you'll see blue and white Cornishware rollers. But this is a mystery. For a start, it's ridged. Sue thinks it's for butter. I have no idea.
I do think it's for butter.
I couldn't find one on the net when I looked. This cost me £5 in Dial-A-Ride, and wow, I just love that. It's what a fab bit of kitchenalia. Well, now, Sue, if you sweep over here, let's do the two bits of furniture that we got. I got this in Tregarthen Antique Centre, and again, primarily for my home, really. I'm just going to rip the price label off, but it was £30, but they did a deal with me for £25, and it's got the most fabulous elm top on it. And the other thing about it is it's a very nice height. It's about the same height as a regular chair. For some stools, if they're higher, that can be nice, but then they become more specific for, sort of your higher workbenches or whatever. Anyway, that was 25 quid, but because Sue always just wants to outdo me, she bought this, which is 1920s, I think. I don't think it's any earlier. Lovely little, look at the bamboo on that. That's absolutely lovely. And both of these bits of furniture are just so usable. But Sue bought this for, how much was it, Sue?
£1.
£1? Do they still have pounds? Is anything a pound these days? Yeah. Oh dear. Right, if we just pause a moment and we'll lay some more things out. This is, I just couldn't resist him. And I bought this just a little while ago because it was Halloween. Whoa! Don't make rude noises. And he was 50 pence, I think. But I love these. I love the snappy teeth as well, if I ever see them. And anyway, 50 pence. A plastic automaton for 50 pence. Whoa! Just because. Who is this? Does anyone out there know? He's got a little switch on the back, and when you do the little switch,
he lights up.
He lights up. But I don't know who he is or what he's supposed to be doing, but I don't know. He was 20 pence. How can you not buy that? He's a work of art. Shall we leave him glowing? Yeah. We'll leave him glowing. But anyway, if anyone knows who he is, and I suppose the same sort of applies to this guy, although he's Batman, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he is. Someone said to me, he was something like, is there a Batman the Dark Crusader?
The Dark Knight.
He wants to go on holiday to Lanzarote as well, where they have lots of fruit. And someone said he's the Dark Crusader. I'm afraid
He's the Dark Knight. He's the cake.
The Dark Knight.
And he is the Cake Crusader.
Maybe he went bad sometime in one of them. I don't actually watch films, but I will buy their toys. That's it, I don't know. Anyway, so he is he's dark. Anyway, that's one thing. That's one thing we're absolutely agreed about. Yeah. And so he can go there. That was our little selection of toys. Next thing I've got here, which is just delightful, is a bookmark. So this would go into your page like that. And it's really nice. Bookmarks are really, really nice. This I bought from the centre. It was £3. It's a souvenir from Switzerland, but it's delightfully made. And that's the back side of it.
Yeah, I could just.
Yeah, but you don't see a lot of bookmarks, and for £3, not to lose your page, it's worth it, isn't it? Really. And the next thing I've got is a little ring, and this, I just don't know, I thought it was so curious. This was £1 in the Red Cross, and the actual stone in it looks a bit plasticky, but it isn't. I don't know if it's glass. I suspect it's a citrine, but I honestly don't know. There's no obvious marks, if you know what I mean, on the ring. I think it's, if I was even lucky, I think it's probably gold plated, but I will test it. I've got a few things lined up to test. And apart from the fact my fingers are pretty so-so, I like that. I like the way it sort of does it. It's unusual. And I say for £1. And now I have some friends in the antique centre, and they've been reprinting labels, and so 50 pence I can get a St George curried mutton, which I think is New Zealand, around and about. And so for 50 pence, I get 2 labels and a really, really amusing and a bizarre subject. But if you've got an old wooden box, and you stick 2 of these labels on, because most wooden boxes did have labels on and they never ever survive, it really makes it into a nice and interesting and amusing object. Anyway, curried mutton. Everyone needs curried mutton, especially St George, and St George is busy killing the sheep there, is he? So he can curry him. I can't quite see. Yeah, that's right, St George killing the sheep so he can curry him up. Now the next 2 things are these. If I hold him like that. Obviously, this one's broken. He's lost a horn, he's lost a leg or two. If he had a stand, it isn't there. And even this one here has lost an antler. Yeah. But these are carved ivory. Now, I have a bit of an issue about the way that ivory is treated, because there's a lot of old ivory and a lot of it is quite high art, and it's a shame just to see it trashed. It's not going to bring elephants back to life, but of course I absolutely hate the idea of modern ivory, but also until about the 1945, 1950s, elephants weren't in danger either, but the explosion of our population in the last 70 years, I mean, we've over tripled our population. We've taken up so much habitat. But anyway, disregardless of that, these came from the outside shelves in Trecastle Antique Centre, and they're just superb. Old, I think this has got something like 50 shillings underneath. I just because of the subject, I'd like to think that these are African, but I don't know. But the quality of the carving, it's just absolutely beyond. And these cost me £1 for the two of them. And I don't know if it's quite possible for Sue, but if we could get a picture, you can sometimes see the sort of veins that run across the ivory, which is the easiest way to tell ivory, although you have to be careful not to confuse it with Ivorine, which we're going to get in. We're just going to pause now. Well, we're back to the beginning of the video now, and the knives that I picked up. Obviously, this one, haven't had to do anything to it at all. It's still got a sterling silver collar, and although it's a fish knife, and people don't tend to use them, it still make a really nice large serving knife of sorts. The next one was the bone-handled, probably a carving knife originally, and that's come up great. I love the sort of pitted bits in here. It almost reminds me, it isn't Damascus steel, but it looks like it once you've done this. And the thing about this steel is anything pre-war, they didn't use scrap steel, and the quality of the steel is just head and shoulders above. You can get the sort of edge on a blade like this, or the other two dining knives. I can put an edge on those whereby I can use them as a straight razor. That's how good the steel is in them, and you can't really buy that. And this is going to be Victorian. It's Sheffield, and I think Sue finally managed to get Excelsior out of there. Excelsior. And there's something else underneath there, probably the exact road or place in Sheffield. I can't read that. And this little thing here, I didn't know if it was supposed to be a mole or something. I don't know. I don't think it's a fault. I think it's supposed to be, but I couldn't get it any cleaner than that. And the next two were the dining knives, which, do you remember me talking just a moment ago about Ivorine? This is Ivorine. Not the best. If you get really good quality Ivorine, they get it so you can see veins in it. It's I don't know how they do it. I don't know if it's a sort of Bakelite. But these ones here were ever so interesting. I don't know if you remember how absolutely rusty they were, but they are Cross Brothers Limited of Cardiff. I think they're about 1900, with these little brass retainers in to stop the handles coming down. That tends to be just that little bit earlier than the 1920s. But again, these are so ridiculously sharp. I know a fair few people that have one or two of these in their cutlery drawer, and they use them as their sharp kitchen knife. But you have to be careful. I remember when I was a kid, if I went to my grandparents, you had to be careful not to cut yourselves with the dining room knives. And very, very, very last of all then, I don't know if you remember the butter knife that was stretched. Now, I'd heard about making these hot with warm water and pushing them back together again, but I'd never actually done it. And unfortunately, we didn't get the moment when we actually did it. We'd have loved to. But this is now absolutely back together again. The silver plate on it. wants a bit of a polish, but otherwise is virtually perfect. And that for me is just a delightful butter knife. Anyway, that's enough mutter about butter. Me and Sue have got a couple of things to do, and we hope you enjoyed that. And it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Sue.
Me, yeah.
And it would be a goodbye from Spotty Cat, but she's at home and I'm not. So I hope she's okay. Anyway, love everyone, love you all. Ta-da, folks. I wanted to pause for a moment. Can we take a little time? Can we blot out the cars, the big boys' toys, blot out the crowds, turn off the noise? I wish that we were somewhere romantic, but this'll have to do. Oh, anywhere's romantic when it's just me and you. Oh, and the skyscrapers could be mountains, and the lampposts could be trees, and the road could be a river, and there's just you and me. And feel the rays of the sunshine coming down from above. I just wanted to take a moment to make sure you know that it's you that I love. Oh, and the skyscrapers could be mountains, and the lampposts could be trees, and the road could be a river, and it's just you and me. I just wanted to take a moment to make sure that you know that it's you that I love, that it's you that I love.